Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're going to talk about the buff that will occur on the object 263 during the 8.2 update, because it's quite a big one. But even if it seems like it's a big one, I don't feel like it's going to do much of a difference. What Wargaming basically wants to do is improving the side armor of the tank from 80mm to 100mm, but also increasing the main armor of what was back in the days the huge weak spot, aka the gun mantlet. Because back in the days, this thing right there, even if it doesn't feel like a weak spot because it still had 270mm of raw armor, was easy to penetrate. As soon as it switched to gold shell, it was easy to penetrate. But it seems like Wargaming decided to increase the armor right behind the first gun mantlet to 70mm of armor, meaning that the real armor of the tank, the effective armor, should climb up to more than 330, and therefore making it kind of immune to gold shell, except maybe for people that will use calibrated. And this is something that will make the tank relevant again, especially on the first line, because the main problem of the 263 was that it was supposed to be a first line tank, but that huge weak spot right there kind of blocked how you had to play it. For this video, guys, we're going to take a look at two replays, one that will show you what the main problem is, in my opinion, concerning that tank, and the second one to see how the upcoming buff will increase the abilities of the tank. So first, we're going to start with what I think should have been the buff on this tank. The main problem of the 263 in the current meta, if you know how to play it, is possibly the gun depression, because that tank features no more than 3 degrees, and trust me, 3 degrees on a game where most of the maps are supposed to be played with gun depression on hills, hilly terrains, etc., is quite hard to make effective. What I mean by that is that when you take a look at the 263, it's either you are playing on a flat map or you are going to be completely useless. For instance, for this video here, I tried to play it for 1 hour and I just got wrecked again and again and again, simply because either my team doesn't follow me on flat grounds, because most of the tanks implemented on this game are supposed to be played in all down, and therefore they all go on the all down side, or you don't have the chance of getting an urban map, which implies that there is literally no flat terrain. And this is something that, in my opinion, is the biggest issue with this tank, and not necessarily the armor profile. Because the thing is, when you can't shoot at your opponents because you have to expose your whole tank in order for you to get your shots going in, that's where the problem is, and not necessarily the armor. I feel like the 263 armor was really good as long as you knew how to play it. You just had to circle, wiggle, try to maybe angle a little bit when people were aiming at you, but the problem is, as always, not a lot of players are aware how to play that game correctly, and nobody did that. And obviously, if nobody does that, yes, we can understand that Wargaming thinks that the armor is weak, but it's not the problem. The problem is the lack of gun depression. Now, something that will change regarding the armor, now that we are going to have one of the strongest armor at tier 10 implemented on something that is extremely mobile. Yes, it's going to change a little bit the current meta, and especially how you want to play your 263, because back in the days it was really hardcore for you to be able to play aggressively. But now with this, maybe it's going to be possible, because the main problem is, when you lack of gun depression, you need to go frontline, because you need to be close to your targets to be able to penetrate them, right? Or at least to be able to aim them. Now, you couldn't do that before because of your huge gun mantlet that was a weak spot, and the overall design of the tank, especially the lower part of the hull as well, as you can see here. But now that this tank got buffed, it's going to change a lot of things. Because now you will be able to push your targets, and yes, you will also be able to bounce them. This is one. There was two issues with the tank: the lack of gun depression and the armor profile that was unbalanced against some players. Now, at least Wargaming buffed one of those, and now we will only have to deal with that gun depression that kind of sucks, but also the gun dispersion that is drastically increased on this tank, because it goes from 0.30 to 0.37. Now you can see that at the moment, when I'm playing my 263, I may play it a little bit too aggressively for this update. Maybe what I did right now would be a good idea to do after the upcoming update, but I was literally expecting the rest of my heavies to push with me, but it seems like a lot of people are playing that game cowardly, and I can't stand that. Seriously, guys, if you're a heavy tank, just push. don't stay in the back. Fuck people staying in the back. I hate that. But anyway, we're not here to unleash our rage toward players that don't really know what they're doing. We are here mostly to talk about this tank. Now, the main issue, as I told you, there are two. There is the gun mantlet right there, but there is also the lower part of the hull. But also, when you were playing against some tank destroyers that had the penetration with gold shell, they would be able to penetrate here and here on both sides of the main hull. As you can see, like it just happened here. Now, with the new buff, it might be impossible for you to do it anymore, and I feel like it's for the best simply because you're supposed to be a YOLO wagon. At least that's how a lot of people are naming that tank. And what's a YOLO wagon if you can't YOLO? Just a wagon, which kind of sucks when you go to war with it. So yeah, this is it, guys. This is what I feel like this tank is gonna be. I don't know if it's really gonna change something. It's probably gonna change the playstyle of the tank because you will be able to play more aggressively, but I'm not expecting the 263 to all of a sudden becomes completely broken because most of the players don't know how to deal without gun depression, and I'm one of them. Literally, I have good stats, not the best, but still good stats, and I really struggled 1 hour just to have 2 average games with it simply because I can't stand tanks without gun depression. We are too used in this tank to in this game to tanks that have enough gun depression, 8 degrees, 7 degrees, 10 degrees, and when all of a sudden you go on something that has 3 degrees of gun depression, you just can't stand it. That's it. It's either you play on the right map and here, yes, you are extremely deadly. Otherwise, you are playing on a hilly map and you are going to be completely useless. It's quite hard for you to relocate on the right side of the map, to take advanced position that will allow you to shoot, etc. And I feel like that's why Wargaming is buffing a lot the armor, because they are aware of that issue of the gun depression. They didn't want it to increase the gun depression because that would make this tank maybe a little bit too broken. I don't know. I'm not working at Wargaming's developing team, but what I mean here is that yes, if you don't have the gun depression, at least Wargaming gives us the armor that will allow us to play forward, to push after the hill, for us to be able to bounce while also being able to shoot. Also, on top of that, Wargaming intended to make it a close target, close fight tank, sorry. And the thing is, to do that, they decreased the gun depression from 0.30 to 0.37. And they increased the armor. So now with this tank, with maybe the first tank destroyer of the game, that will have to go in direct contact with the enemies. And I feel like this is some good news because it's going to bring us some new mechanism to the game. So hopefully the 8.2 update will be the one where the 263 will be shining, even if I don't feel like it's going to happen. Hopefully you enjoyed, guys. If that's the case, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. And tell me, what do you think about the 263? Do you think it's going to be relevant in the 8.2 update or not? In my opinion, no, but we'll see. See ya.